YouTube, Niner Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So the Houston Texans have released former 49ers cornerback Jason Verrett. Jason Verrett obviously was a fan favorite when he had and spent time in San Francisco. But Jason Verrett also dealt with quite the number of injuries over his, career in general, but in particularly with the 49ers. Just a quick glimpse into his injury history so far throughout his career. And I'm going to be going off of season-ending injuries, not just injuries that kept him out for a couple games. But as far as, season-ending injuries, this guy has been through a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I respect Jason Verrett as much as I do, is simply because no matter how many injuries he has, no matter how many setbacks he unfortunately has or has had in the past, he always comes back and he always produces at a pretty high level. It's one of them things where you can never write off Jason Verrett, no matter what type of injuries he may have. The guy's always going to come back and play his ass off, and forever, I will forever respect Jason Verrett because of that. But going back, just to these injuries, in 2014, he had a shoulder labrum tear that costed him much of the 2013 season, and he had surgery right before the 2014 draft. So he was drafted in 2014, but he played through, in college, he played through a shoulder labrum tear, for the entire season pretty much. And then going back, or fast-forwarding to 2017 when he was with the LA Chargers, he aggravated his left shoulder injury that he suffered in 2014. He was diagnosed with a torn labrum, had surgery, and was placed on injured reserve. He dealt with minor injuries in the 2014 and 2015 season. And then going into the 2016 season, he had a knee ACL tear, which was labeled a grade 3 ACL tear. So, of course, that put Jason Verrett on injured reserve for the remainder of the 2016 season with that ACL tear. And then fast-forwarding to September 11th of 2017, he missed all but week one after experiencing a setback with the left knee he tore the previous year, which was the ACL grade 3 tear that I just spoke about. 2018, he had a pedal Achilles tear. He was injured during a conditioning test during training camp, completely tore his Achilles, so obviously that kept him out of the 2018 season. In 2019, he tweaked his left knee during a Week 3 win over the Steelers. He was with the 49ers, of course, at this point, and the Niners ended up putting him on injured reserve. Fast forwarding to 2020, he had a thigh hamstring sprain, which was grade 1. He missed the first 2 games of the season, so that was not a season-ending injury. But it was definitely an injury that kept him out for some time. And then going into 2021, early September, he suffers another torn ACL in his right knee in a Week 1 win over the Lions, and of course missed the entire season. And then most recently, which was last year, when he was with the Niners, he suffered a pedal Achilles tear grade 3, in which he suffered that injury during practice. So that's a lot. That is a lot of injuries to battle through. But credit to Jason Verrett. No matter what injuries he's suffered, again, he's always bounced back from them and has came back and has found himself on a 53-man roster. So I will forever respect Jason Verrett for that. And obviously it's clear why, he was a fan favorite in San Francisco. And that's, not only that, I'm not just saying he's a fan favorite just because he's battled through injuries and he's came back from injuries, but really, man, all in all, Jason Verrett played very well for the 49ers when he was healthy. And, he was at his best. And obviously that's the biggest question mark for Jason Verrett, is if he can stay healthy. But I guess it brings me to my point. Should the 49ers look at bringing him back to add to this thin cornerback depth we have? Here's the thing. Jason Verrett, obviously familiar with the 49ers, familiar with the culture, the locker room, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, he was with the Texans. He followed D'Amico Ryans to Houston, in the offseason last year. So there's familiarity there with him and a lot of the 49ers players. He was able to reunite with former 49ers safety and corner and Jimmy Ward. So like I said, I mean, he's familiar with the team, familiar with the locker room, familiar with the system. I think the 49ers could obviously use a corner to add with depth, and I think Jason Verrett could honestly come in and play the nickel position just as good, if not better, than what Isaiah Oliver is doing right now. So obviously we know that, the Niners are getting back Darrell Luter Jr., they're getting back Samuel Womack soon. Obviously their practice windows have already opened. But in the grand aspect of things, you never can have enough depth at a position. You look at what the 49ers are doing on the defensive line, it's like they have Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Chase Young, of course, now. I think I've already said Javon Hargrave, but then you like Randy Gregory. I can go on and on about this 49ers defensive line. Drake Jackson even. I know I'm probably missing a big one or a couple of them there. I'm not really thinking about it too much, but you guys get the point. The 49ers always say you can never have enough depth at, the defensive line, the offensive line, but at the end of the day, you can never have enough depth anywhere on a football team, and clearly the 49ers' weakest part of their team currently is cornerback. It's the secondary. I will give the cornerbacks credit, though. Ambry Thomas stepped up big time last week, had a forced fumble, played against Calvin Ridley very well, played against Christian Kirk fairly well. I thought Christian Kirk had a good game last week, but I mean, all in all, Ambry Thomas stepped up big, and I'm a big fan of Ambry Thomas. I like Ambry Thomas. I'll never forget his interception in L.A. to clinch the NFC West and to clinch the playoffs. That was something. But other than that, Ambry Thomas has been a very, very solid player for the 49ers, ever since he was drafted by them. So like I said, man, I mean, I think bringing in Jason Verrett, of course, would be a decent move for the 49ers. It would be a smart move. Again, there's always that concern about his health. I mean, clearly he's been through more injuries than I think any NFL player I have ever known of. I can't really think of an NFL player that's dealt with as much injuries as Jason Verrett has. And I'm talking major injuries. Jason Verrett, yeah, he tweaks. There's some tweak hamstrings here, some pulled hamstrings, high ankle sprains, whatever the case may be. But I'm talking about in terms of season-ending major injuries. Jason Verrett's been through it all. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think, obviously, San Francisco could get him, on a cheap type of contract. Injuries have clearly plagued his career, like we talked about. But, like I said, at the end of the day, Jason Verrett was a very, very productive player when he was on the 49ers. When he was healthy and he was able to get on the field, the guy played extremely well, played at a very high level. I'm pretty sure, too, he was ranked very highly in the PFF grade, I believe in the 2021 season, when it came to just lockdown coverage. And I believe he was pretty high up, too, when it came to passer rating allowed. Or I guess giving up he was ranked pretty high in terms of quarterbacks having a low passer rating when targeting him. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think the 49ers, they were very patient with him as well. I think that was another big thing, why he stuck around with the 49ers so long. I think, they were clearly very patient with him and his injuries and whatnot. They knew that he was a very productive player and played at a high level when he was able to get on the field. And I wouldn't doubt it at all in terms of thinking about the 49ers potentially bringing him back. I think it would be obviously a move that would be smart considering the current depth at the 49ers cornerback position. And just because they played well against Jacksonville doesn't mean that we're still thin at corner. The fact of the matter is we're going to continue to be thin at corner. I know the 49ers made calls about Patrick Surtain, Jalen Johnson before the trade deadline hit, but they weren't able to to spark a deal. And the 49ers cornerback room has stayed the same since the beginning of the year. So I think with some of the guys coming back, obviously, Samuel Womack and the guys that the 49ers are getting back, I think it obviously helps at depth. But when you can get a player like Jason Verrett, who's currently healthy, that knows the system, that played very well for the Niners when he was with us, I think it's worth a shot. I think obviously there's always going to be that concern with injury, but he's healthy now, and that's all that matters. And I think, the 49ers could get him very, very cheap. Whether they put him on the practice squad, whatever the case may be, get him and add depth to the position. It wouldn't hurt the 49ers, and I think it's probably a good move considering they know the type of guy and player that Verrett is. He's played with this 49ers defense before, and I think, again, he would tremendously help, the 49ers at cornerback position. And not only would he play well in terms of, when he gets his chance on the field, but I think all in all, he could also help this 49ers younger group, Isaiah Oliver. And I know Isaiah Oliver's been in the league for quite some time, spent some time with Atlanta before the Niners signed him last year. But he can help out Ambry Thomas, and he did those things when he was with the Niners. Not only did he play at a very high level, but he helped the 49ers younger guys. He helped in developing them type of guys, and the same with Richard Sherman as well when he was here. He helped Lenore. He helped out Emmanuel Mosley big time when he was here. So again, I think you can only look at the positives that Jason Verrett did when he was here, and that Jason Verrett had when he was here. So again, I think it's worth a shot. I think if you're the 49ers, and the Texans just cut him, of course, I think you probably go out and bring him back. It doesn't hurt.